So, as I mentioned in the last video, we are going to be combining cells to make this look better. So we want to combine 1954 and the row below. We want to combine rear window and the row below. So the attribute that does that is called row span. Okay? It lets you combine rows. So we're going to be using it to combine the years with the rows below, because you can see we want to do that all the way down. And the same with the movies. For each movie, we want to combine it with the row below, and we're going to be using row span for that. Now on the last line, we actually want to take this and kind of combine it with the two columns next to it. So it's just like one big column. And to do that, we're going to use column span. So column span lets you combine columns, and row span lets you combine rows. And by combine, basically, we're merging them together. So let's go back over into VS Code. And let's take a look at our table. Now you'll notice that we have some empty columns. Okay, and those are actually going to be the columns that we are going to be merging with the row above. So where you put the row span is in the opening tag of the cell that you want to merge with the ones below. So in this case, it's our 1954 cell that we are going to be merging. So I'm going to put in a little space and key in row span. And how many rows do I want to combine? So in double quotes, I'm going to tell it 2. I want to combine this current row with the one below. Now when I do that, I need to delete the TDs in the row below. Right? Because now this one cell is going to take up 2 rows. So I don't want the TD in the row below at all. And I'm going to be doing the same thing for the movie. So I've got row span equals 2. 2 is in double quotes. And now this one cell is taking up 2 rows, which means this TD should not be here. Okay, so let me save this. And then we're going to come out and reload our page. So you can see how it kind of merged those rows, and then it left these alone because we didn't tell it to merge the rows. So we're basically going to be doing the same thing for each year in each movie. So I'm going to highlight the space and row span equals 2 with the 2 double quotes. And I'm going to press Control and C. And I want to paste that inside the opening TD for each year and for each movie. So I'm pressing Control and V as in Victor to paste. So I'm putting that row span basically in the table cells that I want merged with the ones below. And then those 2 empty ones below have to be removed. So we're kind of getting rid of the empties. Okay, and I'm going to save this. Let's reload it. That looks good. Now you might be thinking, well, what happens if you leave the empty ones there? Well, let me put them back in. It doesn't look pretty. So this is a problem, okay? Because now I've said I'm spanning this cell into 2 rows, but I've got a column defined here. So of course it gets a little confused. And this is the kind of stuff that it does, okay? So that is why if you're going to use row span or column span, you need to make sure that wherever it's combining to, that you kind of get rid of what's in this case, in the next row. So let's go back in here. So we thoroughly confused the poor web browser. So let's get rid of the empties, okay, because we are merging rows. Now we had said down here that we wanted this one column to span across the width of the table. So right now this column is kind of here, but we actually want it to be able to go across. I'm going to reload this. So we want it to be able to go across the entire width, which means we need it to span 3 columns. So you count the column that it's in, and then you want it to go over column 2 and column 3. Okay, so we want it spanning 3 columns. So let's come back in here. And in the opening TD, that is where we put call span. And this is an attribute. And in double quotes, we tell it the number of columns that this should occupy. So this citation is going to occupy 3 columns. Okay? Now, because we said this is going to take 3 columns, we need to get rid of these other 2, right? Because now this one is going to occupy their space. So we got to get rid of those 2. And let's save the change. And let's reload. Okay, and now it occupies all 3. So at this point, our table is actually looking pretty good. The only thing that we could do that would maybe make it look a little bit better is adjust the widths of some of our columns. And in HTML, in a table, all you really have to do is modify the width of one cell in a column, and it makes the entire column that wide. So if we go in and we specify the widths in our columns for the first row, then it's going to affect everything. So in our opening TH tags, okay, for those column headings, we're going to add style equals, and then opening double quote, width. We'll make the first one 20%. We've got our closing double quote. For the next one, we'll have style equals. Let's do our 2 sets of double quotes here. Width, and that is going to be, we'll make that 45%. And then for the last one, style equals, 2 sets of double quotes. The width for that is going to be 35%. And now let's save. And just setting the widths in one cell changes it for everything. Okay, and that actually looks a whole lot better. So at this point, we are pretty much done with Hitchcock as well.